The turning of the cosmic wheel. What if everything we believe about human history is incomplete? We are taught that civilization moves forward in a straight line. Primitive past. Advanced present. Even more advanced future. A constant upward climb. But what if history does not move like a straight road? What if it moves like a wheel? What if humanity rises into brilliance, reaches a golden age of wisdom, and then slowly falls into confusion and darkness? Not by accident, but because the universe itself moves in cycles. Thousands of years ago, ancient Indian sages described something astonishing. They said time is not linear. Time is cyclical, the Yugas, the 4 ages of humanity. Humanity moves through repeating ages called Yugas. 1. Satya Yuga, a golden age of truth and harmony. 2. Treta Yuga, an age of noble kings and advanced civilizations. 3. Dvapara Yuga, the age when humanity begins discovering energy and technology. 4. Kali Yuga, the age of confusion, materialism, and spiritual forgetfulness. Then the cycle begins again. For centuries, many dismissed this idea as mythology, but modern astronomy has discovered something extraordinary. A hidden astronomical connection. The Earth itself slowly wobbles in space, a motion known as the precession of the Equinoxes. This cosmic motion takes nearly 26,000 years to complete. It is a vast celestial clock, and strangely, ancient Indian texts describe a similar cycle of human ages lasting around 24,000 years. Coincidence? Or did ancient observers understand something about the universe that we are only beginning to rediscover? To answer that question, we must first understand how ancient India saw time, because for them, time was not just a measurement. Time was a living rhythm of the cosmos, the ancient idea of cyclical time. In modern thinking, time is like an arrow. It moves from the past toward the future in a straight direction. But many ancient civilizations saw time differently. They saw it as a great cosmic cycle. Just as seasons repeat, spring, summer, autumn, winter, then spring returns again. The universe itself seems to move in repeating patterns. Stars are born. They shine for millions of years. Then they collapse, giving birth to new stars. Galaxies rotate in enormous spirals. Even the atoms inside our bodies vibrate in rhythmic patterns. To ancient philosophers, this suggested something profound. If nature moves in cycles, then perhaps civilization does too. The rise and fall of civilizations. In the late 19th century, an Indian philosopher named Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri made an intriguing observation. In his book, The Holy Science, he suggested that the Yuga Cycle might be connected to the slow wobble of the Earth's axis. Look closely at human history. A strange pattern appears again and again. Civilizations rise to incredible heights, developing architecture, science, philosophy, and art. And then suddenly, something changes. Knowledge fades. Empires collapse. The pyramids of Egypt were aligned with astonishing astronomical precision. Ancient Indian observatories tracked planetary movements with remarkable accuracy. Civilizations in Central America built cities aligned with celestial events. To ancient philosophers, the eventual disappearance of these cultures was not random. It was the natural descent into Kali Yuga, the age when humanity becomes more focused on survival and material power and less on wisdom. The lowest point of the cycle. But the sages also believed something hopeful. Darkness is never permanent, because the cosmic wheel always turns. According to certain interpretations of the Yuga system, humanity reached the lowest point of the Kali Yuga several centuries ago, a period marked by global conflict, colonization, and massive upheaval. But after the lowest point, the cycle begins rising again. Slowly, humanity enters a new phase. In the language of Yugas, this is the beginning of Dvapara Yuga, the age when humanity begins rediscovering the hidden energies of nature. Interestingly, the last few centuries have seen exactly that. Electricity, magnetism, radio waves, nuclear energy, quantum physics. Humanity began discovering forces that were once invisible. Energy itself became the foundation of modern science. Ancient texts described Dvapara Yuga as the age when humanity learns about subtle energies. Does that sound familiar? Modern physics now tells us that matter itself is condensed energy. Atoms are mostly empty space. Reality at its deepest level is a dance of energy fields. What ancient sages described philosophically, modern science is beginning to explore mathematically. The role of the sun. Another intriguing idea appears in ancient philosophy. The sun was not seen merely as a star. It was seen as the central source of life and consciousness on Earth. In Sanskrit, the sun was often called Surya, a symbol not only of light, but of awareness. Modern science confirms that life on Earth exists because of solar energy. Every plant converts sunlight into chemical energy. Every animal depends on that energy indirectly. Even fossil fuels are ancient sunlight stored in the Earth, but solar activity itself is not constant. The sun goes through complex magnetic cycles. Solar flares, radiation variations, magnetic storms. These events influence Earth's atmosphere and electromagnetic environment. Some scientists are beginning to explore whether solar cycles may influence biological rhythms, climate patterns, and possibly human behavior. Ancient sages believed that cosmic energies flowing through the solar system could influence human consciousness. If that idea sounds mystical, consider this. Human bodies are electrical systems. Our brains communicate using electromagnetic signals. Our planet itself is surrounded by a magnetic field generated by its core. Life is deeply connected to energy. So it may not be impossible that cosmic cycles influence life in subtle ways. A philosophical perspective, there is also another way to understand the Yugas, not only as cosmic astronomy, but as a metaphor for consciousness. Imagine humanity as a single evolving mind. Just like individuals, civilizations go through phases. 1. Childhood curiosity. 2. Creative expansion. 3. Ambition and power. 4. Confusion and decline. 5. Then renewal. History shows this pattern repeatedly. Empires rise with vision. They grow powerful. Then, slowly, corruption appears. Purpose is replaced by greed. Wisdom is replaced by power struggles. Eventually, the system collapses, but from the ruins, something new emerges. Ancient Indian philosophy simply extended this idea to cosmic time. Thousands of years instead of centuries. A breathing universe, civilizations inhaling and exhaling. Our moment in the cycle. Today we live in one of the most unusual periods in human history. Never before has humanity possessed so much knowledge. Yet never before has there been so much confusion about meaning and purpose. Technology connects billions of people instantly. But loneliness and anxiety are rising across the world. Science explains the mechanics of the universe, but many people feel spiritually disconnected. This paradox may reflect exactly what ancient sages described: a transitional age, the slow emergence from darkness toward a new phase of understanding. A time when old systems collapse, but new wisdom has not fully formed yet. Moments like this are dangerous, but they are also full of possibility, because in such times, humanity has the chance to rediscover deeper truths, truths that ancient civilizations once understood, truths about the relationship between consciousness, nature, and the cosmos. The future of the cycle. If the Yuga Cycle reflects something real about the universe, then the future of humanity may not be purely technological. It may also be a transformation of awareness. Ancient sages believed that as humanity rises through the cycle, our perception expands. We begin to understand energy more deeply. Then consciousness itself. Eventually, humanity reaches another golden age, not identical to the past, but wiser, more integrated, more aware of its place in the cosmic order. Perhaps the greatest discovery of the coming centuries will not be a new machine, but a new understanding of the human mind and its connection to the universe itself. Because if the cosmic wheel truly turns, then the age of darkness was never the end of the story. It was simply the night before a new dawn. What Indian wisdom says about the rise and fall of consciousness. When ancient Indian sages spoke about the Yugas, they were not simply describing historical eras. They were describing states of consciousness. To them, civilization was not measured only by technology or wealth or political power. True civilization was measured by awareness, how deeply human beings understood themselves, nature, and the universe. In the language of Sanatan Dharma, existence is not just physical matter. Reality is made of different layers. The physical world, the mental world, the energetic world, and the deepest layer, consciousness itself. Ancient Indian texts often describe the universe as Chaitanya, living consciousness expressing itself through matter. In this worldview, the rise and fall of civilizations is not random. It happens when humanity either remembers or forgets this deeper truth. The 4 ages of consciousness. According to ancient Indian cosmology, humanity moves through 4 stages of awareness. Each stage represents a different relationship between humans and reality. 1. Satya Yuga, the Golden Age. In this age, truth is natural. Human beings are deeply connected to nature. They do not feel separated from the universe. Wisdom is not something people search for. It is something they live. Ancient descriptions say that during this age, humanity possesses extraordinary clarity of mind. Intuition is strong. Spiritual understanding is direct. Conflicts are rare because people recognize the unity of life. 2. Treta Yuga. As the cycle moves forward, awareness slowly becomes less clear. Truth still exists, but it requires effort. Civilizations become more structured. Kings, societies, and institutions develop. Great epics like the Ramayana are traditionally associated with this age. Humanity still values righteousness, but ego begins to grow. Power structures begin forming. The harmony between humans and nature becomes slightly weaker. 3. Dvapara Yuga. The cycle continues descending. Humanity enters the age marked by the discovery of energy and knowledge. People begin studying the laws of nature in more analytical ways. Science and technology begin to appear, but spiritual clarity becomes weaker. Human intellect grows stronger, while inner awareness declines. The epic Mahabharata is associated with this age. A story filled with advanced weapons, powerful kingdoms, and deep moral conflicts. 4. Kali Yuga. Finally, the cycle reaches its lowest stage. This is the age when humanity becomes most disconnected from truth. Material success becomes the primary goal of society. Wisdom traditions are forgotten. Knowledge fragments into separate disciplines. Instead of understanding unity, people see division everywhere. But the sages never described Kali Yuga as evil. They described it as the most challenging age. Because when truth becomes hidden, it must be rediscovered consciously. The psychology of Kali Yuga. Ancient texts describe Kali Yuga with surprising psychological accuracy. They say that during this age, human attention becomes scattered. People chase endless desires. Greed increases. Trust between individuals decreases. Society becomes dominated by competition rather than cooperation. If we look at the modern world, these descriptions feel strangely familiar. The modern era is incredibly powerful, technologically. Yet many people feel disconnected from meaning. Ancient sages predicted something like this. They said that during Kali Yuga, humanity would develop external knowledge while losing internal wisdom. In other words, we would learn how the universe works, but forget why we exist. Why darkness appears before light. One of the deepest insights of Indian philosophy is that darkness is not permanent. It is simply part of a larger cycle. Just as night prepares the world for dawn. Ancient thinkers believed that Kali Yuga serves a hidden purpose. When knowledge disappears, humanity must search for it again. When truth becomes rare, those who seek it develop deeper understanding. The darkness of Kali Yuga creates the conditions for awakening. This is why many spiritual traditions say that even though Kali Yuga is the most difficult age, it is also the age where spiritual growth can happen very quickly. Because when the world is full of noise, even a small moment of silence becomes powerful. The science of consciousness. In recent decades, modern science has begun exploring questions that ancient philosophers asked thousands of years ago. What is consciousness? Is the mind just a product of the brain? Or is consciousness something deeper? Something connected to the fabric of reality itself? Fields like neuroscience and quantum physics are beginning to explore these mysteries. Some physicists suggest that reality itself may be fundamentally informational or energetic. While science does not yet fully understand consciousness, the conversation has begun. Ancient Indian philosophy approached this question from a completely different direction. Instead of studying consciousness from the outside, they studied it from the inside. Through meditation, through observation of the mind, through deep introspection. Texts like the Upanishads describe consciousness as the ultimate reality underlying all existence. The return of balance. Ancient sages believed that the cosmic cycle always moves upward after reaching its lowest point, just as winter eventually gives way to spring. If humanity truly passed through the deepest phase of Kali Yuga in the past few centuries, then the future may hold something extraordinary, a gradual awakening of human understanding. Many thinkers believe we may already be witnessing the early signs of this shift. Interest in meditation and mindfulness is growing worldwide. Scientists are exploring the nature of consciousness. Ancient philosophical texts are being studied again with fresh curiosity. What was once dismissed as mythology is now being examined as a possible source of forgotten wisdom. A message for the modern world. The idea of Yugas is not meant to make humanity pessimistic. It is meant to remind us of something important. Civilizations rise and fall. Knowledge appears, disappears, and reappears. But consciousness itself continues evolving. Ancient Indian philosophy suggests that the future of humanity may not depend only on technological progress. It may depend on something much deeper, the rediscovery of balance. Balance between knowledge and wisdom, between science and spirituality, between human ambition and harmony with nature. When that balance returns, the wheel of time turns once again toward the Golden Age. The future of humanity and the return of the Golden Age. For thousands of years, the idea of cyclical time was considered a myth. Modern civilization believed something very different. We believed history was a straight line. Primitive past, technological present, advanced future, a constant upward march of progress. But the deeper we study nature, the more we discover that the universe does not move in straight lines. It moves in cycles. Planets orbit stars. Stars orbit galaxies. Galaxies rotate through vast cosmic structures. Even the atoms inside our bodies vibrate in rhythmic patterns. Cycles appear everywhere in the universe. So perhaps the ancient idea of cyclical ages was not superstition. Perhaps it was a philosophical observation about the deeper rhythm of existence. And now something interesting is happening. Modern science and ancient wisdom are slowly beginning to ask the same questions. The meeting point of science and ancient wisdom. For centuries, science focused almost entirely on the physical world. Matter, energy, forces, particles. But in recent decades, scientists have encountered a strange mystery: consciousness. What exactly is awareness? How does a collection of atoms inside the brain create thoughts, emotions, and experiences? Some researchers are beginning to explore whether consciousness might be more fundamental than previously believed. In ancient Indian philosophy, this idea has existed for thousands of years. The sages described ultimate reality as Brahman, not a god in a human form, but an infinite field of consciousness from which the universe emerges. According to texts like the Upanishads, everything we see, matter, energy, space, and time, is an expression of this deeper reality. The individual self, known as Atman, is not separate from this cosmic consciousness. It is part of it. When sages spoke about the golden age of humanity, they were describing a time when people naturally experienced this unity. A time when knowledge was not divided between science and spirituality. It was one integrated understanding of reality. But as the Yuga Cycle descended, humanity gradually lost this perception. Knowledge fragmented. Science separated from philosophy. Religion separated from inquiry. And humanity began to see itself as separate from nature. The age of technology. Today, we are living through a remarkable transformation. Humanity has created technologies that previous civilizations could barely imagine. We can communicate instantly across the planet. We can observe galaxies billions of light years away. We can manipulate atoms and decode the genetic structure of life. This explosion of knowledge is exactly what ancient descriptions associate with Dvapara Yuga, the age when humanity discovers hidden energies of nature. Electricity, magnetism, radiation, quantum fields, energy becoming the central concept of science. Interestingly, ancient Indian philosophy often described the universe itself as a play of energy and vibration. The concept of Shakti represents the dynamic energy of the cosmos, the creative force behind all existence. In modern physics, energy is also the foundation of matter. According to the famous equation E=mc² proposed by Albert Einstein, matter and energy are interchangeable. What we perceive as solid objects are actually patterns of energy. This does not mean ancient sages knew modern physics, but it does suggest they were exploring the same fundamental reality from a different direction. Science observes the universe from the outside. Ancient meditation traditions explored the universe from the inside, and slowly, these two approaches may be meeting in the middle. Why ancient civilizations seemed advanced. One of the mysteries of history is that many ancient civilizations possess knowledge that still surprises researchers today. Massive stone structures aligned with astronomical precision, mathematical systems developed thousands of years ago, philosophical texts exploring consciousness and the nature of reality. Some historians wonder whether earlier phases of the Yuga Cycle allowed humanity to access deeper forms of knowledge. Not necessarily advanced technology like modern machines, but deeper insight into consciousness and natural harmony. When humanity descended into the darker phases of the cycle, much of this wisdom was lost or misunderstood. Libraries burned, empires collapsed, and knowledge scattered across the world. Yet fragments survived, hidden in ancient texts, sacred traditions, and philosophical teachings passed from teacher to student. The awakening of a new era. If the Yuga cycle truly reflects a cosmic rhythm, then humanity may now be moving into a new phase. Not the golden age yet, but the early stages of a gradual awakening. Across the world, people are becoming curious about meditation, mindfulness, and consciousness. Scientists are studying the brain and exploring the nature of awareness. These shifts may be early signs of humanity moving upward in the cycle again. Just as dawn slowly follows night, the responsibility of the modern generation. Ancient Indian philosophy does not present the Yuga cycle as something humans passively experience. Instead, it reminds us that every generation plays a role in shaping the future. Even in the darkest age, individuals can cultivate wisdom. Human transformation begins within. Through awareness, through self-understanding, through the search for deeper truth. When individuals evolve, societies eventually evolve as well. The return of a golden age is not just a cosmic event. It is the result of countless individuals choosing clarity over confusion, wisdom over ignorance. The wheel turns again. Imagine humanity thousands of years from now. A civilization that understands both technology and consciousness. A world where scientific discovery and spiritual insight are no longer enemies, but partners. This vision may sound idealistic, but ancient sages believed it was inevitable. Because the universe itself moves in cycles. The night may be long, but dawn always comes. If the cosmic wheel described by ancient philosophers truly exists, then humanity may already be standing at the edge of a new sunrise. A moment when forgotten wisdom returns. When science and consciousness meet. And when the story of civilization begins another extraordinary chapter. The return of the Golden Age,